Bctv local and African news summary for Monday, October 20th. An agreement between a consortium of Liberian universities and the Chicago State University in the United States aims to strengthen higher education in Liberia through faculty and student exchanges, study abroad programs, and joint research. Liberia's foreign minister has met the U.S. Secretary of State and acting National Security Advisor Marco Rubio to advance cooperation in economic development, migration reform, and investment. The UN mission in South Sudan confirms that several children have been released by the South Sudan People's Defense Forces. The government of Liberia, through the Civil Service Agency, will officially launch its new automated legal power of attorney LPA platform on October 22nd. The system, formerly known as Liberia Pay After, allows civil servants to access services electronically without upfront payment. The CSA Director General, Dr. Josiah Jokai, said the digital reform replaces the old paper-based process with biometric verification and online payroll management, enhancing the efficiency, transparency, and accountability across the public sector. Over 700 volunteer teachers, health workers, and security officers have already been placed on the national payroll as part of the reform rollout. The General Auditing Commission, the GAC, says it recently completed domestic debt audit could save the government of Liberia about $704 million United States dollars. The audit followed a nationwide validation of domestic debt claims announced last November to enhance transparency and fairness. The GAC report recommends key reforms to strengthen debt processing, reporting, and accountability, while addressing issues like the statute of limitations and Liberia's debt to gross domestic product (GDP) ratio. Some of the claims cited in the audit could not be verified. There have now been calls for a full audit of the prior Liberian administration. Liberia's Ministry of Education and the Academic Consortium of Liberian Universities will on October 20th sign a landmark Memorandum of Understanding with Chicago State University, the CU, in the United States. A Ministry of Finance and Planning press statement says the agreement aims to strengthen higher education in Liberia through faculty and student exchanges, study abroad programs, and joint research. It also offers special tuition discounts for Liberian students enrolling in the CSU's online programs in public health, health information administration, and computer science. The signing marks a major step toward modernizing Liberia's tertiary education and expanding the global learning opportunities for Liberian students. In more local news, over the weekend, the former ruling Coalition for Democratic Change (CDC) political party broke ground for the construction of its new national headquarters in Monrovia. The colorful ceremony drew hundreds of partisan supporters and senior officials who hailed the project as a symbol of renewal and unity. Party officials described the initiative as a milestone toward institutional strength and continuity. The CDC says the new headquarters reflects its commitment to democracy, organization, and national engagement. It has also vowed to construct offices in the Leeward counties. Liberia and the United States are deepening diplomatic ties following high-level talks at the White House. Foreign Minister Sarah Beslow Nyanti met with U.S. Secretary of State and acting National Security Advisor Marco Rubio to advance cooperation in economic development, migration reform, and investment. A foreign ministry statement said The meeting builds on President Buakai's July visit to Washington, D.C. Secretary Rubio pledged U.S. support for Liberia's reforms and plans to restore visa reciprocity. Minister Yanti called the talks a victory for all Liberians, marking a new chapter of partnership rooted in trust, opportunity, and shared responsibility. You're listening to the Bctv News Summary. Efforts to end the use of child soldiers in South Sudan are showing results. The UN mission in South Sudan, known as UNMISS, confirms that several children have been released by the South Sudan People's Defense Forces in Yambio, Western Equatoria. The South Sudan People's Defense Force Commander Brigadier Akesh Meka pledged to support and stop all child recruitment, urging support for their education instead. UNICEF and the DDR officials are providing psychosocial care and training to help the children reintegrate into civil society. UNMISS says it will continue monitoring to ensure no child returns to combat. UNICEF estimates nearly 19,000 child soldiers remain in South Sudan. And finally, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi says Africa can play a leading role in restoring global balance amidst growing international polarization, the Egyptian Gazette website reports. Speaking at the Aswan Forum for Sustainable Peace and Development, President Sisi warned that global double standards and weak multilateral institutions have deepened humanitarian crises and slowed reforms. He noted that Africa, rich in resources and youth, rising conflicts, debt burdens, and climate threats, but still holds the potential to drive peace, stability, and sustainable development across the continent. The weather forecast for Monday, October 20th in Sino County, southeastern Liberia. Expect showers early, turning into steady rain later in the day with a high near 84 degrees. Humidity remains high at 86%, with extreme ultraviolet or harmful sun rays levels during the day. At night, the skies will stay mostly cloudy, with scattered thunderstorms. The Liberian dollar starts off the week trading at 184 to $1 US. To summarize, an agreement between a consortium of Liberian universities and the Chicago State University in the United States aims to strengthen higher education in Liberia through faculty and study abroad programs and joint research. Liberia's foreign minister has met with U.S. Secretary of State and acting National Security Advisor Marco Rubio to advance cooperation in economic development, migration reform, and investment. And the UN mission in South Sudan confirms that several children have been released by the South Sudan People's Defense Forces. That's the Bctv News Summary, up to the minute.